Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a fun edition of Mark Goes Hiking. I did something a little different last night, something I have never done before. It got pretty cold last night. It got down to 35 degrees. I knew it was going to get down to 35 degrees, and I wanted to push the limit on a piece of gear and also try something different that could have turned out really, really bad. I'm going to stumble a little bit this morning. My throat's still kind of full of junk from the cold air. But I decided to sleep in my Eno bridge hammock last night, the skylight, without an underquilt. Instead, I decided to use a sleeping pad in my bridge hammock. Now, I know people do that. I never have, and this one especially before. But last night, I definitely needed it. Got down to 35 degrees. So I layered two different things. I did the Thermarest. Sorry guys, I can't remember which one this is. The Neo Air. It's the one that weighs like 12 ounces. Is that the Neo Air X-Lite? I'm not sure, but it's the one that weighs 12 ounces. It's got an R value of like 4 point something or low fives. I'm probably totally wrong on that, but I think it's like 4.8 or something. Either way, it's got good R value. And I blew it up halfway. Because I didn't want it to be inflated so much that it created like bumps in it, like because you're laying in the bridge hammock, you don't really have the ground to support you as well. So being up in the air and sagging, I thought my weight might get distributed differently, and it would like make these bubbles in it. So I thought I really just need the R value out of this thing. So I blew it up halfway. That I think also prevented it from sliding around on me. I don't know because I've never done it fully inflated, but it stayed in place last night, side to side, which that's the thing I was most nervous about. Is this thing going to want to move all over on me? Is it going to be a pain to keep under me? And am I not going to sleep because of it? Remarkably, it stayed under me perfectly all night. Now, the one thing that didn't go as well, and this was my fault, this was the pitch of my hammock. My feet, I thought, were slightly higher when I pitched my hammock, but like, I don't know, 2 hours in last night, I woke up and I was all the way down at the end of my hammock. My feet were pressing lightly on the foot box of my hammock. And just kind of laying there looking, it looked like my feet were a little bit lower than my head. And so that caused me and my pad to slide down, which I had plenty of room. It was still comfortable. But what ended up happening is my feet through my top quilt were pressing then on the foot box of my hammock. Got a little chilly, not cold, just a little chilly. I didn't get out and fix it because everything was still lined up really well. I don't want to mess that up in the middle of the night. So I'm a side sleeper too, so I just turned over on my side, kind of curled up. Plenty warm. I actually stayed 100% warm last night, except for that one instance where my feet got a little bit of a chill. The one thing I did as well is I used this new product I have, which I'm going to do a review on because I really like it a lot. It's really versatile. It's just a quilt from Get Out Gear. So I've be having a review come out on that next. But so more on that in a minute. But what I did is I laid this down in my hammock first. Then I put the pad down. I wrapped the quilt around it. Now here's what I thought was going to happen. I thought this thing was just going to get bundled up. I was going to climb in my hammock. It was just going to basically cause this whole thing to move to the middle. And I wasn't even going to use it halfway through the night. Remarkably, putting this down first, this quilt, and then wrapping it around the pad, just for stability purposes, just so it stayed in place. It stayed in place the whole night. The part that was under my head slid down a little bit over the night, but I would say 95% of it stayed underneath the pad, exactly where it was supposed to be. I don't know how much that added. I don't know. I just know it was going down to 35 degrees last night, and it was let's add a little bit just in case. It worked really well. I don't know if I needed it, but it worked out really well. And this is also, I'm kind of cold, so I can't wait to wrap this around me. That'll be in the review of why I like it. So it's a versatile piece of gear. Then what I did for my pillow, I have this cool Rumble pillow. I put my down vest that I could also have on right now, and that was my pillow. So a nice cushy pillow, which was really good. So the only negative was I think my feet were just a little low, and so I slid down a little bit. Other than that, it was a really good night's sleep. What I pushed for gear was I used my Aegis Max. You know, that cheaper top quilt from China that you can get rated down to 40 degrees. Now, a lot of the times when you, especially when you get an off-brand or something that's not made by a cottage company, the temperature rating is more like the survival rating, not a comfort rating. This thing's rated to 40 degrees. You see reviews like, oh, I was freezing my butt off at 50 and whatever. I was warm last night. Now, I had my pants, which are Columbia zip-off pants, and a t-shirt, and this super old Arc'teryx, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what this is. Not a fleece. It's not a pullover. It's a zipper, whatever. Sweater, I guess. Arc'teryx sweater. And this little beanie hat from when I was like 4 years old. So that's what I wore last night. Oh, and a pair of socks. But not wool, not like a thick wool socks, just a thin pair of hiking wool socks. So I stayed warm, 35 degrees, like not even chilly. So this thing is freaking awesome. I don't know, maybe y'all haven't had the best luck with it, but I'm a fan of this thing. This thing works really well, even in the colder weather. So I think it's only like 39 or 40 degrees right now, and I gotta get this thing over me in a minute. I don't think I have anything else to say. Good night's sleep. It was a cool setup. Oh, one last thing. Sorry, this video was not planned, so I'm just deciding to make it. With the pad in this bridge hammock, you are a little close to your, if you can see it, to the mesh screen that goes over you. Not uncomfortably close, but it is different. Again, it's not restricting. You don't feel claustrophobic because of it. You can move your head, or you can take your arm and grab something out of the mesh pocket in the hammock without hitting it, but you are absolutely closer to that net. I don't think that was a negative, just something to be aware of. I think somebody asked me in the comment of my review of the Eno versus the War Bonnet bridge hammock, and asked if you put a pad in it, how close are you to the mesh? In this one, it does feel significantly closer, but it's not restricting either. I can't answer for that for the War Bonnet until I set it up again, so I'll do that soon. Maybe on my next trip out, I'll do the same thing with the War Bonnet. I think that's it. It was a cool setup. So if you don't own an underquilt, and because they could be expensive, this is a good alternative. I would take it down to freezing for sure. Do a pad with some R value and maybe something underneath the pad to break the wind a little bit more, something like that, break the airflow, and just make sure you have a good top quilt. It worked well for me. So kind of a warm sleeper. So maybe I'm not the best test case, but for me, it was golden. So thanks for coming along on this relatively short video. Hope it was enjoyable for you. See you later. Take care. Thanks for viewing.